Today we want to discuss the phase four of the underground philosophy, what we believe in, and specifically we want to discuss the art of film study. Phase four is just the overall umbrella of the concept. The art of film study is what we want to focus in on today. First, let's discuss the pyramid of the U, or what we stand for and what we believe as a basis for building a fundamental top athlete in the sport of football in many sports. So at the bottom of the pyramid we have strength training. Strength training we believe is key to be the foundation of building an athlete. We want to create a base to build on fundamentally. We want to be able to establish a core and then build off that core in other areas. Next, we have the SAP phase two, the SAP, which is speed, agility, and plyometrics. After building that strength and creating that muscle on the body, we want to continue to develop the speed, and so we won't deteriorate from the gain in mass if possible, or we won't deteriorate in any of these areas. So we want to focus on our speed, agility, and plyometrics to make us more effective and more limber and more side to side in our processes and what we do on the field. Phase three is PFT, or positional form and technique. That's our normal positional focus. We're going to focus on receivers, route running, O-line blocking, D-line, gap protection, pass rush, and etc. Quarterback throwing motion and things of that sort. We're going to focus on exactly what the student would like to do at that position in phase three. Phase four, we call it CIS, or the cognitive intellectual stimulus, where we're going to focus on the brain, the thought process of the athlete. We believe this is fundamental to complete development as an athlete. In all these phases, the pyramid of U, each phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 are compounding phases, which means that once you work on one phase, it never goes away. It continues throughout the process. For example, in strength training, you'll have a lifting program and things to make you get bigger and stronger and more powerful. But as you go into phase two and work on speed, agility, and plyometrics, or SAP, you still will have some parts of the strength training focus and so forth. So in phase three, you'll be doing pretty much phase 3, 2, and 1. In phase 4, you'll do phase 4, 3, 2, and 1. You do all the phases of the pyramid. We want to get to that point to where when you reach phase 4, the process is a continued process. It doesn't die off. It doesn't differ. It doesn't sway. You can continue the process of getting stronger, getting faster, learning technique, and getting your brain and your thought process up to speed to be the most effective athlete as you can be. So phase 4, this is a very important phase. We believe that attacking this phase will set you apart from any other athlete. The cognitive intellectual stimulus, we want to focus on sharpening the athlete's thinking skills and ability to acquire and interpret visual and verbal data. On the field, processing is important. We want to create a foundation of understanding how to process what you see and hear on the field and effectively react or produce from what your brain is taking in and processing, and the output that comes from it is what you want to strengthen. Want to assist athletes heighten their on the field decision making, like I said, through cognitive and reactionary abilities. Visual perception and recognition, auditory recognition, and film study are the main focuses of cognitive intellectual stimulus. So we want to focus on interpreting visual things and recognizing what to do when we see something. We want to be able to interpret and recognize things that we hear. And then a major thing is film study. We want to be able to see situational experiences and work on developing how we would deal in a certain situation or with certain issues that presents themselves to us. So we're going to create that in the athlete, and so they'll be able to be the most effective athlete they can be through their strength training, their speed and agility through their positional form and technique. They get all that, but then some athletes don't know how to process what they see on field. We want to fix that and get athletes to understand and interpret things in that arena. We want to increase the brain's processing speed in areas of sensory input. What we see, touch, feel, we want to be able to take that and speed the process of what the outcome of our reaction to those items. We use techniques to quicken the brain's thought processes and reasoning. We want to graze the frontal and the parietal lobe of the brain. We all know that we don't use a lot of our brain, but we want to try to use as much as possible. It's just how we're built. We want to try to extend our brain as far as we can to see things, understand things, and process faster and quicker and get it out. The underground believes that film study is pivotal to development of student athletes. I know many coaches believe this. I know a lot of people believe this, but it's not put into practice. Kids watch film, and yet in practice and things like that, we still have to go over things and be more in depth than we should need to be. So film study is important to the overall process of developing our athletes. The underground, so film study is multifaceted. It's a multifaceted process. I believe first you want to recognize what's going on. So recognition is the first thing. You want to see things at a high level and be able to adapt to them and just be able to understand what's going on. Now, the second step is we want to process that information. How we process through our brain, our thought processes. Some athletes might have to slow it up. Some athletes might be quicker at the processing. Our job in the underground is to speed that process up for on the field. We all know on the field in football we're gonna have a certain number of seconds to get that ball snapped after every down. All right, so we want to get our athletes to be able to do that in a quicker way, so we can set things up and so they can see things and be able to flow, or as in number 3, react to what's going on. We want to recognize it, process it, and react. Our RPR. So let's focus on film study a little bit here. There's three levels of film study. Top level, the floor level, and what we call the underground level. And these titles are specific. They mean something. And when we walk through it, you'll understand where these titles play a importance. So at the top level, we want to focus on the offensive and defensive formations, offensive play, and defensive stunts and coverages. That's the top level. The reason why it's called top level, it's the first thing we see when we play film. It's at the highest level. This is what you see when you hit play. So we want to recognize these things and recognize these things fast. This level of film study should not take long for many people to grasp, or many student athletes to understand. The next is the floor level, where we want to focus on the alignment for everyone, the expected holds and coverages, and etc. So the alignment, are the receivers in, are they on, off, are DBs 10 yards off, linebackers 5, or where is everyone aligned? Where's the line? What are their techniques? 5 technique, 3 technique, 1. What are their techniques? We want to get down to a smaller level of viewing, of understanding than the top level. We want to see exactly how this offense or defense is set up. It helps us to be able to make better decisions on what we want to do against each side of the ball. So we want to focus on that thing, especially like expect the holes in the coverage. See the coverage, like in top level, you see the coverage. Now, on the floor level, you want to see what you expect from that coverage. You want to see where the holes are, where we can do things to it. Or in defense, based on the line and things like that, or where the running back is, how we want to, are we expecting to run, pass, things like that. So that's the floor level, where we get down to a lower level of understanding. But then there's the underground level. So this is under everything. We want to get personal, or we want to get personal reason giveaways. We want to look at people that we're going to be facing directly. Um, so that could be on the O line. I want to watch the defensive end and what he does. What does he give me that I can use? What does he give me that will show off my weakness so I can fix that issue? We want to get down to a more molecular level of understanding on the play. And it's easier for our student athletes to do this because they shouldn't be looking at the entire film like we do as coaching staffs. They should be looking at an individual person or a couple of individual people to understand what they do, to find weaknesses or strengths, to figure out how we want to react to those players and to those situations. So this is a level that's under everything else, under all thought processes. You want to get to a level where I want to get down to the nitty gritty of what I need to do to perform at my top performance. Um, so the underground has a mandatory rule that we would like everybody to just think about and include is limit highlight watching, and this is big for us. I've seen student athletes watch film and you hear the oohs and the ah. Did you see that? Did you see that big play? That was tight. That was awesome. During film session, when actually they should be focused on how to get better. So we want to limit highlight watching. Now, there's nothing wrong with highlight watching if if you're by yourself and you want to look at film and you're just trying to see what happened in the game. But if you want to learn and prepare yourself on a daily basis to get better, we want to limit that watching. I tell a lot of coaches to when they watch film, don't watch the big plays initially in film. Watch the mess ups, especially if you're watching your own film. Watch the mess ups. Now, against a team where you're preparing for, then you can watch the big plays. But don't allow your kids to be so consumed into the big play or what happened, the reaction or the result of the play, but to look for things to help them better perform when they go against that team. Um, Here we also I go back over again the first area is the film study. The first area, focus on formation and personnel, changing personnel, route stunts. That's the top level. Think about the possible threats that you should expect, and adjust to those and select a reaction. The second level film study focus on key reads, the floor level, recognize the personnel on and off the ball, tight end usage, etc. And the final level is the underground level, which we'll focus on individual personnel, and we want to seek out individual tendencies that allow them to make up faster reads based on expectation and probability. Could be things such as body language, communication, signals, personal focus, etc. We want to eliminate this thing, the Nike saying of just do it. We want to eliminate that concept and create a thought of do this because. All right, we're not just doing anything. We're doing it because we know this is going to happen and this is what we saw and this is how we're supposed to react to it. So we want to get to a do this because thought process. So let's watch a little film and watch a play and see how we understand the process of phase 4 film watching. Let's go over a little bit of that real quick. So here we have a team, two teams here. And we're just going to start with the top level of phase 4, which is we're going to recognize the formation and things like that, and the routes and stunts and coverages, things like that. So right here, we see that we see the offensive formation. And the one thing about offensive formations is you have to know your kids and what they understand and what they don't understand. So here we have a what I will call a trips up and gun set. Now, many kids might not know to call this a trips up and gun. I know to call it that because we got three receivers high. We got one flexed out on the bottom here, and we have a quarterback and gun with the running back next to him. So that's easy for me to recognize the trips open gun. You have to know your kid's understanding of what this is. Some people almost might also see this as a 10 personnel, right? So there's no tight end, and there's one in the backfield. The one is the running back, the 0 is the tight end. This is a 10 personnel. I know for a fact many kids don't know what 10 personnel is, or they don't know how to call that personnel. So what I like to teach here is recognize the receivers. So for kids that don't know how to recognize a 10 personnel or a trips open gun, they could see this as a 3-by-1. You got three receivers high, one at the bottom. All right, we identify the receivers and go from there. It's easier, it's quicker for those guys to catch on what the formation is. Now, over time, they'll learn 10 personnel. Over time, they'll learn trips open gun. But for those who it's tough for, or they don't get it, or they don't understand it as fast, easier to call it by the number of receivers, a 3-by-1. If you got a double slot, 2-by-2. If you got a twins open, 2-by-1. Things like that. Even a pro set would be a 2-by-1 because the tight end, even though we know that's a 12 personnel. So here we go. So offense formation here, we got 10 personnel or a triple open gun or a 3-by-1. Offensive play. I'll play here real quick. Let's see what the play is. Quarterback hands off. As we also see, we can watch the guard pull and kick out. All right. So this is a counter variation. You see it as a counter variation of some sort, right? All right, counter variation of some sort. So we got the play, we got the formation. Now on the defensive side, I can see what this defense is off the bat just by looking. I can tell that this is a 4-2-5 defense. All right, we got a 4 up front. We got 4 down defensive linemen. We got 2 middle linebackers. The reason why this differentiates from a 4-3 is because of the position of the strong safety / will / whoever you want to call it. He's covering up the number 2. In a typical 4-3, there'll be a strong safety covering up the 2, and then the linebacker will split the difference between the last man on the line and the third receiver, depending on how the coach teaches it. Here, they're keeping 2 in the box. All right, they're not shifting over, shading over. This guy is over number 2, and we have a 2 high safety. All right, so this can be a number of coverages. All right, but for sure, this is a 4-2-5 defense. Visually, if you can see that, coverage-wise, there are no stunts if you hit play. I don't see any stunts here. No blitzes. There's some good reads. There's some good reads here. No blitzing. So for coverage-wise, this is a hard coverage to differentiate. But one thing we do know, they have a 2 high safety. All right, so that can be either a disguise or it can be a variation of cover 2. So it could be a cover 2 man. I'm looking at more of cover 2 man by the press of this corner and this strong safety / linebacker. Looking more of a cover 2, even though they're in trips. So your kids can recognize this pretty much as 2 high, especially as a quarterback. He sees the 2 high. He wants to see what's happening up top, the 2 high, and that might give him an indication on what's happening everywhere else. So this could be just a high safety who's actually playing 3, and this can be a man coverage with a high safety playing deep. Obviously, I said it can be a 2-man by 2 high safeties and the press by the corner and the strong safety. Or it can be a cover 3. I mean, this guy can roll down flats. He can drop 3 deep thirds. deep thirds here. He can possibly roll down flats. He's press man, so he can carry this guy high or what may have you. I'm leaning more to this being a two-man coverage, even though they're in trips. I personally wouldn't run two-man against trips, but I'll explain why as we go on. Show holes in this defense, and we can go. You'll see why I would not do that. So that's the top level. So we recognize the formation as a trips up and gun or 3x1. A counter is offensive play. Defensive formation is a 4-2-5 with a two-man or a man coverage over top. So that's what we got at the top level or at the high level. So next we go to the floor level, where we're gonna focus on alignment. The receivers is easy to see from left to right. We have a on, a off, and an on. All right, we know we only can have 7 people on the line. They're lined up correctly. We have an on, off, on with the receivers, left to right. The lineman for the running back, he's offset the quarterback to the left. The quarterback's in gun. There's no tight end. So that's the alignment of the offense. O-line typically doesn't change much, so that's pretty much the offensive alignment. So on, off, on for the receivers. Running back offset to the left of the quarterback in gun offensively. For the defense, the D-line, left to right in techniques, we have a 5 technique here, outside shade of the tackle. We have a 3 technique, outside shade of the guard. We have a 1 technique, inside shade of the center. And we have a 5 technique, outside shade of tackle. So we have a 5-3-1-5 front, 40 front techniques, 5-3-1-5. All right. As far as the linebackers alignment, I think from what you see here, I think we have a 40 backer. He's in the 4. And we have a 30 backer here. He's in the 3. All right, we got a 40 backer and a 30 backer. As far as the DB alignment, we have a corner that's about 8 yards off the receiver. You have a press corner. We also have a press safety, press strong safety, and we have a 2 high safety at about 12 yards depth, 12 to 13 are the 2 high safeties. So that's the floor level of film review. It's pretty simple. You want to see how the alignment means a lot when it comes to blocking and scheming and pass routes and things of that sort. So you want to know how they're aligned, what you suspect off that alignment, and how to react off of it. So now we're going to get down to the underground level, the giveaways. All right, the giveaways. First, I'm going to play the play a couple times. I'm playing in slow motion. Let me try this fast motion. Play it one more time. Slow motion here. Let's talk about what we got here. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. Underground level film review. First and foremost, slow motion as I talk through this. Look at the receivers at the top. First off, we're just going to look at their stances. Look at the one at the bottom first. This is a decent receiver stance. Somewhat threatening, slight bend. He can probably burst off and go vertical. Are you really threatened by any of these receivers? Any of you look like they finna fire off and run various routes, deep routes. None of these receivers here look threatening. None of them look threatening. So when I see this as a DB, I'm prepared for run. Um, I'm not seeing any receivers in a sense where I am threatened by a vertical route or any type of route that's going to confuse me. So stances mean a lot in football, or stances mean a lot. These stances don't threaten anything. So I'll see the receiver stance as a big miss. Not only that is that, but when they fire off the ball here, they jog. They don't sell the route. They don't sell anything. We know the ball's not coming there. We can flow faster as a defense because we know the ball's not coming there. Just by the way these receivers fire off the ball. We can flow and go. All right. Nothing to say about the receiver. You can see the receiver at the bottom here does a great job. I mean, he's on play side, so he better have this block, but this is what you want to see in your receivers, no matter where the play is, no matter where it's going. All right, you want to see an effective stalk block. All right. The quarterback, his first step is where? Forward. I don't know a great deal about quarterbacks. I know some. I'm not a professional quarterback trainer, but I know if a quarterback take a step forward, it's hard for him to throw that ball from there unless it's a short route. All right. So when I see this step forward, I'm automatically reading run. As a linebacker, you can see this linebacker plays a little bit too fast, but he goes. He goes. He sees it and he goes. Right. Quarterback step forward, boom, he's out of there. All right. So that's an underground level read. See that flow. Running back, watch as he gets this ball. He's going to be looking directly at the ball. He wants to make sure he secures the ball. That's how you know he's getting it. Running backs that aren't getting the ball and they're going to run a route or release, they don't care to look at the ball. Or you shouldn't be looking at the ball, period. You should know that the quarterback's going to put it in your basket and you can turn up and go. This guy must have fumbling issues or something because he's looking directly at the ball to get that ball to secure it. Definite run off him. We can run off him 100%. The O-line here is pretty decent. There's a few keys here that give away a little bit. This guard here, he's leaning a little bit, and he's sitting back. And we all saw him pull on a play. This is a very good indication that he's going to pull. Sitting back, leaning to the right a little bit. He's pulling. All right? That's a key read, especially for linebackers and D-line. Read that, see it. Okay? This tackle here has a miscue. The guy he should block makes this play, which is his 3 technique. If this guard is pulling, he has to pick up this 3 technique. I think he's worried about this defensive end, so he blocks him instead of reading his correct key. And notice who makes the tackle. Who makes the tackle? The man he was supposed to block, right? All right. So I'm watching this as a defensive coach. I would probably toy here. I'll probably do things to make this guy think about other stuff. So he'll make this miss again. As an offensive coach. As a defense coach, I'm sorry. Make him make the same mistake, and we're going to kill that play every time. All right, so that's what I see on the offense that are good giveaways on this play that we can focus on and use to give us an advantage. On the defensive side of the ball, this corner bails immediately. So Warner, he's intimidated by this receiver here. It opens up any type of hitch or out route. Is wide open, even though this guy is probably be on the hip of an out. But this hitch is wide open. A curl is wide open. This guy bails very quickly, and he's already at 8 yards. So he must be threatened. The bottom corner, he's pressing, but it lacks physicality. You see, he has to be physical and close this gap here. He's like playing patty cake with the guy's hands and juking. He just needs to either go or press this receiver back into this play. He lacks the physicality here. The linebackers are their spacing. Maybe it's called this way, but it's subjecting them to an inside zone or inside trap by the spacing. Creates a huge gap here to cause that. But every defense is susceptible to something, right? So the spacing is a little bit big, but offense have to find that weakness. Backside backer, he takes off like we showed before. He just takes off, which can be good at times. He takes no true re-step. He just bounces for a second, but he goes pretty fast. If this was a zone read and they could block this in, that fast read would probably hurt pretty badly. He has to take that re-step and flow over the top and to put him in position to be the cutback on that play. Play side does a great job coming up and taking on that block. Probably better taking on with his hands than with his shoulder. But he does a great job taking on that block. So I'm thinking this defense is susceptible to a zone read, depending on defensive end, who looks pretty decent. Play side safety, he has to play the alley a lot faster. He has no secondary threat here. He might have a secondary threat from a post coming across here. There's nothing short of medium. By the way they jog, he's not even threatened by them at all, especially on the vertical. He has to see this alley and come play it immediately. He's backpedaling now. He wants to come play it. All right. He could be different between a 10-yard gain and a 5-yard gain or a 15-yard gain. All right. So he has to see that and go. So that's the underground level of the film study. We believe that this process is effective and is perfect for your kids. Now, this can be taught at any level. A lot of parents like to go out and film their kids playing in youth football. You can take that film and break it down just like this. It helps them get better, helps them to learn this stuff faster, so when they get into high school or at the next level, they know it. At the high school level, this will help you prepare for games day in and day out. It also would allow your coach to have time to worry about other things and to make sure you guys understand what's happening on the field. That's the importance of phase 4. That's the importance of the film study process. We can't lose that art of film study to the underground level. From the top level to the floor level to the underground level, each athlete must have that. They must understand that. And it will make teams a lot better, a lot more efficient, a lot quicker. We'll get into some more of the phase 4 techniques and understanding and topics on a later date. You can check us out on Facebook at UGDFTI or on Twitter at underground_FTI.